All right, welcome back to Late to the Party episode 97. I've got my guest here from Them Bad Neighbors, Mo.
Lovely.
So this is the second one that we got going through the selection of like voting on the page. And this was Mo's movie, so Mo's here with us today. The rest of the crew was too busy on Halloween weekend to be able to catch Puppet Master. But since it was Mo's movie, he was able to do it. Let's dig into this a little bit. We've got Puppet Master was released in 1989. Let's see. And it has got a 5.5 out of 10 on IMDb and a 43% on Rotten Tomatoes. 84% of Google users like this movie. We've got the cast of Charles Band. Actually, the director was Charles Band. Dave Schmoller and David DeCoteau. Starring Barbara Crampton, Guy Rolfe, Paul Lamont, Robin Freites, Steve Wellis, William Hickey, Irene Miracle, Elizabeth McClellan, Catherine O'Reilly, Matt Rice, and David W. Allen. All right, Puppet Master is an American horror film series which focuses on a group of anthropomorphic puppets animated by an Egyptian spell, each equipped with its own unique dangerous device, and are represented as heroes, antiheroes, and antagonists. The franchise was created by Charles Band and Kenneth J. Hall. Let's see, it was produced by Full Moon Pictures. The series was established in '89 with the eponymous first installment, which has since been followed by 10 sequels. Crossover with the characters of Demonic Toys, a 2018 reboot entitled The Littlest Reich, a spin-off film about the Puppet Blade, an upcoming spin-off about retro Puppet Masters Dr. Death, 2 comic book miniseries, an ongoing comic book series, a multiplayer video game slated to release in 22 by October Games, and numerous other collector's items. And I believe that this movie also launched the Full Moon Studios, which was a movie a movie studio, and it was started by Charles Band after Empire Pictures had collapsed. He wanted to be able to create low budget horror, science fiction, and fantasy movies that like mirrored the quality of films with more generous budgets, he put they have quite an extensive list of movies that they were able to put out through Full Moon Pictures. So this is the original one. If you like that classic stop animation, because that's how the puppets were animated in this original one, just like one frame at a time. And they've got the strongman puppet and the guy with the hook and the knife, the girl who spits up the leeches, and the jester dude with the spitting face. I think that's the original few. Am I missing any?
No, I think that was all of them. If you're missing some, I definitely don't remember anymore.
There are some that there's. I mean, every one of the sequels comes out with a different puppet, but that's the core OG puppets.
What did you think about it? How'd you like it?
I think. Well, I saw a lot of these movies. The Puppet Master movies, aside from this one, and I did like a lot of the other ones. I like the premise. I like Toulon and that he was escaping from Nazi land, or he was like physically escaping Nazis, by suicide, and put his puppets to the side, and he had figured out those secrets. And I think that his story and the secrets and the origin of the puppets was a lot more. It ended up being the bread and butter of that franchise. It ended up being a lot more interesting than, the guy who seduced the girl into getting the fortune, and then having all his magician homies come there. Like it seemed like it was packed onto another story that seemed more interesting underneath. It seemed like the backstory was way better than what we were seeing as a story.
Do you know if any of the other movies are a prequel to this first movie? Because
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
like, yeah, are they?
yeah,
I
yeah,
lost
yeah.
track after the second one. Um,
Yeah, no, it goes
um,
deep, and it becomes about the puppet master and his puppets, and
yeah,
they become bad guys, and they become good guys, and everywhere in between. So I mean, it just depends on the whims of the people who are coming out with this content. But this movie, I mean, it was solid. It was iconic. It was originally supposed to be released in the theater, but he ended up putting it straight to video. And even though it was straight to video, it became an instant cult classic. So
yeah, definitely.
there aren't a lot of horror fans who haven't heard of the Puppet Master movies.
Yeah, I got a small, a little side story about the Full Moon production company. At years ago, I used to do security at one of these studios in downtown LA. I can give you the address. It doesn't even matter. The building's called 443 San Pedro Street, right? So the production team had their studio on one of our floors, maybe on the 7th or 6th floor. And one day I was up there just wandering the halls and around, supposedly patrolling and shit. And I look into the room and I see all this cool Halloween stuff. And the guy saw me looking and peeking in there, and he was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm just admiring your stuff." And he's like, "Oh, come on in. Let me show you around." So he showed me pieces to like Gingerbread Man, Doll Man, this Puppet Masters 1, 2. I think he only had a couple of them. A lot of their stuff, like all the stuff that he used during the films.
That's cool.
And he gave me a big ass box set of all these movies, Gingerbread, the ones I named, Gingerbread, Doll Man. I can't remember for the love of life of which ones they were. A couple of the Puppet Masters. Real cool guy. And I was looking up that name that you said a while ago, Charles. I can't think of that if that was his name, but real older middle-aged guy, real nice guy. That was him. I can't think of his name. This was such a long time ago. Yeah, so he just showed me a bunch of the stuff that they used to film the movies, and it was awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I was when I was in high school, I got some together with some buddies, and we did like a horror movie club, and we always watched the Full Moon movies, so they were great. And then like Faces of Death and other just random old movies. So I don't know if you got a chance to see those ones. They're pretty crazy. This movie had it definitely had like a nostalgia factor for me, but watching it with fresh eyes, because I haven't seen it in more than 20 years. It wasn't the greatest movie. I like the practical effects. They're a little bit dated and they'd be different now, but I still like the practical effects. They're a relic of a bygone era. The acting was pretty bad.
Definitely.
The directing. It's just the puppets. I give them a 10. The backstory is strong enough to carry an entire franchise, but the actual story of this movie wasn't very strong. Just the random magicians coming into the house to spend the night and getting taken out one by one by the puppets.
Not even one by one. Some of them two at a time.
Yeah, well, the first ones have to die, or the ones having sex, right?
Yeah.
Classic Fuzzy Shooter. That's a classic movie trope.
It's a classic one. Yeah.
That's
never wrong when you're in a horror situation, man. Just you're gonna be the first one to go.
You have to have virgin purity, or be the one protecting the virgin.
Yeah,
you'll make it to the
that guy's last.
He's the last one to die, but he's
yeah.
Protect to the virgin, right? So it wasn't horrible. It was fun to watch, but just very, very dated, and I don't see myself watching it a bunch of times. It might open up, maybe. I mean, it depends. We got to watch a lot of content being part of Collection Connection, so I don't know how apt I will be to go down like another Puppet Master rabbit hole.
No, that's a hell of a hole.
But it was a necessary watch and good to use in Collection Connection. I want to give it like a, out of a 10 buckets system, I want to say it gets 3 buckets. 3 buckets. It's not horrible. It's not horrible. I would give it less if it didn't have nostalgia, because I mean, the movie itself, it just it had a lot of holes in it. The acting was bad.
Yeah, it definitely did have a lot of holes in it, with all the magicians coming in, and some of their superpowers don't even make sense, but it doesn't matter. How they got them there, it was a little rough. The storytelling was a little rough, but the actual dolls, the thought of having dolls coming at you and attacking you one at a time, it's not that big of a deal. But when they all gang up on you, that's when you see that they're just vicious and they're uncontrollable. And one of the scariest things is that when I was growing up, my mom was making porcelain dolls at the same time, around the same
with the
time that I
creepy
was watching
eyes.
this movie. Yeah, so the eyes were always following me every time I walked around the house. Creepiness, fucking dolls, just like, these motherfuckers are just gonna jump up at any minute. It just scared me. So that's the horror part of the dolls, like, the story didn't
hiding
make
under the
sense
bed,
a lot, but
cutting your Achilles tendon from under your. That's the kind of one where if you're creeped out by these dolls and you're in your bed in the dark, you don't want to step down because they could be under the bed and get you, that kind of thing. Yeah, no, there's a horror to it. There's definitely.
I'll give it a 4, because I mean, like you said, it wasn't horrible. It was good. It was good. I would like to see them do a remake of that movie. Something more, the graphics are a lot better now. The storytelling can be a lot better. I mean, they can change it up a little bit. It doesn't have to be the same, but just use those dolls, that type of doll situation in a movie now, I think would work out great.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
For sure. All right, well, there you have it. Puppet Master, 1989's classic. Thanks for joining us on Late to the Party, Mo. We'll be announcing the selection of next week's movie on Talking Shit. That'll be on Monday nights. Make sure to vote on the community page. You can get to that. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks.